go to a primetime matchup. It's a Super Bowl 58 rematch in week 2. It's the 1-0 Philadelphia Eagles traveling to Kansas City to take on the 0-1 Kansas City Chiefs. The Eagles are favored by 1.5 points. It's a 4:25 p.m. kickoff. The over-under for this game is 46.5 points. Obviously, these two teams faced off against one another in the Super Bowl last year. The Eagles, they beat the Chiefs 40-22. In that game, Jalen Hurts, he went 17 for 22. He threw for 221 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Patrick Mahomes, he struggled. He went 21 of 32. He threw for 257 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And in that matchup, I believe at one point in the game, the Eagles, they had a 34-0 lead at one point. It was 34-0 in the third quarter at one point. And so obviously in the Super Bowl, and when you look back on the Super Bowl, when you look back on the Super Bowl, one of the things that the Eagles were able to do against the Chiefs was they were able to get to Patrick Mahomes. They had 6 sacks for the game, 6 sacks against Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they struggled with protection all afternoon long. And the Eagles, with their 6 sacks, they were able to get to Patrick Mahomes without blitzing. So essentially, they had 4 down linemen and 7 players in defensive coverage for the Philadelphia Eagles. And defensive coordinator Vic Fangio has done a tremendous job at being able to create pressure against Patrick Mahomes. And that's exactly why the Eagles blew out the Chiefs in Super Bowl 58, 40-22. So that Eagles defense and their defensive front, and I'm looking at that defensive front with the Eagles up front. Obviously, you still got Jordan Davis, okay? You got Jalen Carter, all right? Nolan Smith Jr. At linebacker, you got Zach Bond, okay? They did recently sign Zadarius Smith at the linebacker position to help that pass rush as well. In the secondary, you still got Reed Blankenship, okay? You still got Cooper DeJean, who had a pick 6 in the Super Bowl. And so for me, in this week 2 matchup, even though it's early in the season, I want to see how much that Chiefs offensive line has improved. I want to see how much have they honestly improved, because that Chiefs offensive line, they got at center Creed Humphrey, okay? At left tackle, you got rookie left tackle Josh Simmons, all right? Right guard Trey Smith, Jawan Taylor. So I'm interested to see if that Chiefs offensive line, if they have improved at the offensive line position. Now, against the Cowboys, the Eagles defense, they didn't get any sacks. They didn't sack Dak Prescott one time. And against the Chargers, the Chiefs offensive line, they gave up 2 sacks. So that's going to be an interesting matchup between the Chiefs offensive line and the Eagles defensive line. And who can win that matchup with Andy Reid versus Vic Fangio? That's going to be a big matchup in this game. Now, obviously, when you look at the Eagles, they are fresh off a Super Bowl win in Super Bowl 58 over the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Eagles, their team is loaded. You got Saquon Barkley at running back. Okay, at receiver, you got a dynamic duo with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. At tight end, you still got Goddard. Okay, and I believe the Eagles still have the best offensive line in pro football. At center, you got Cam Jurgens. At left guard, you got Landon Dickerson. Okay, at left tackle, you got Jordan Mailata. Right guard, Tyler Steen. Right tackle, Lane Johnson. The Philadelphia Eagles have a top 5 offensive line, arguably the best offensive line in pro football. And they opened up running lanes for Saquon Barkley last year, and Saquon Barkley had over 2,000 rushing yards. And honestly, considering how great of a season Saquon had, he could have possibly won NFL MVP, but the NFL, they have, honestly, without telling us, they have labeled the NFL MVP as the quarterback award because no running back or receiver or defensive player is winning that award. But you could have made an argument for Jamar Chase and Saquon last year to win NFL MVP. That's how dominant Saquon was last season. And so when I look at the offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles, if they can protect Jalen Hurts and open up running lanes for Saquon Barkley, that will lead to success for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm looking at Jalen Hurts, obviously. Last year, Jalen Hurts, he had 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 2,903 passing yards. He completed 69% of his passes last season. Jalen Hurts, to me, is a top 10 quarterback for sure. I'm not ready to say Jalen Hurts is a top 4 quarterback. And there are people out there that are saying that Jalen Hurts should be a top 4 quarterback in the NFL. Most people believe that Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen are better than Jalen Hurts is. But there are those people who also believe that Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts is a conversation and that Jalen Hurts, because of his Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP, there are people that believe that Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Joe Burrow. As great as Jalen Hurts has been for the Philadelphia Eagles, and as great as Jalen Hurts has played in big games, I am not ready to say that Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Joe Burrow is. I believe there are 4 quarterbacks in the NFL that are for sure better quarterbacks than Jalen Hurts. And that's Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. And I know Joe Burrow has missed the playoffs the last 2 seasons. But considering the rosters of the Cincinnati Bengals and the Philadelphia Eagles and the eye test, Joe Burrow is still a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. But I do believe because of Jalen Hurts' Super Bowl win and his Super Bowl MVP, Jalen Hurts has separated himself from the Jaden Daniels of the world, the Jordan Loves of the world, the CJ Strouds of the world, the Justin Herberts of the world. But just because your team won the Super Bowl and you won Super Bowl MVP, I cannot say that you are a better quarterback than the Joe Burrows of the world, the Josh Allens of the world, the Lamar Jacksons of the world, and the Patrick Mahomes of the world, because I've seen Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes carry their football teams throughout the course of their careers. I've seen them 4 quarterbacks in Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, and Jackson carry their football teams respectively multiple times throughout the courses of their careers, and I've really never seen Jalen Hurts do that. But Jalen Hurts is a bona fide top 6/top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And before the season, I had Matthew Stafford ranked above Jalen Hurts. But I could see that changing immediately early in the season, considering games like this. Like, this is a big game for Jalen Hurts, not really the Eagles. I want to make that clear. I think this is a big game for Jalen Hurts as far as where he ranks in the quarterback ranking conversation, but it's not a big game for the Eagles. The Eagles are the defending Super Bowl champions, and they have had the Chiefs number. And not only have they had the Chiefs number, they've had Patrick Mahomes specifically number. Here is Mahomes against the Eagles in the last 2 games. Mahomes, he's 0-2. He's also, his passer rating is 81.8. He completes 60% of his passes against the Eagles. His touchdown to turnover ratio is 5-4. And his 0-2 record against the Eagles, that's the worst versus any opponent since 2023 with a minimum of 2 games. So it's safe to say that the Eagles, they have Patrick Mahomes' number. They do. And so for me, this is a bigger game for the quarterbacks for different reasons. This is a bigger game for the quarterbacks in Mahomes and Hurts. Mahomes, because the Eagles have had Mahomes' number over the last few years. And Hurts, as far as quarterback rankings, if he can beat Mahomes again, I believe that helps Hurts in that quarterback rankings conversation. And so obviously when I'm looking at these two teams are 2 teams who I believe will obviously make the playoffs. And I expect both the Eagles and the Chiefs to win the NFC East and the AFC West. And I believe that Andy Reid is the best head coach in the NFL. And Nick Sirianni, with his Super Bowl win, has elevated himself into that upper echelon as head coaches. I don't believe he's an elite head coach, but I do believe Sirianni is a good head coach. But overall, in general, another thing, there are people that are saying that Jalen Hurts should be in the conversation for best quarterback in the NFL, and that is false. As much as I love Jalen Hurts is not in that best quarterback in the NFL conversation, Eagles fans, okay? And I have a question for Eagles fans. When Eli Manning beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, not once, but twice, did you ever truly believe that Eli Manning was as good of a quarterback than Tom Brady? The answer is no. So do not tell me that Jalen Hurts is better than Patrick Mahomes because he's beaten Patrick Mahomes in big games. If you weren't going to say it with Eli being better than Tom Brady, then don't say it with Jalen Hurts being better than Patrick Mahomes. And so for me, as great as Jalen Hurts is, and I do believe Jalen Hurts by season's end could be in that top 4 conversation as far as quarterbacks in the NFL, depending on how Joe Burrow performs this season and how Jalen Hurts performs with the Eagles. That's what's going to determine whether or not Hurts has surpassed Burrow. I believe that he is not in the conversation for best quarterback in the NFL. I believe Patrick Mahomes is still the undisputed best quarterback in the NFL because the man is a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a 3-time Super Bowl MVP. He's won 2 MVPs in his career, and he is one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. And so for me, the only quarterbacks who are worthy of being the best quarterback in the NFL, besides Mahomes, who is the best quarterback in the NFL, are Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. To me, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are the only 2 quarterbacks who deserve to be in that best quarterback in the NFL conversation. And even those 2 are not in that conversation yet because they have not beaten Patrick Mahomes when it matters the most. But Eagles fans, pump the brakes on Jalen Hurts being the best quarterback in the NFL because he's beaten Patrick Mahomes in big games. I'm not quite ready to go there yet, but if Jalen Hurts beats Mahomes this week, we can definitely start having the conversation about whether or not Jalen Hurts deserves to be in that conversation with the Burrows of the world, the Jacksons of the world, the Allens of the world, and the Mahomes of the world. but not best quarterback in the NFL conversation. Those are two separate conversations. But it's going to be a big game. Obviously, when I look at the Chiefs offensively, I'm worried about the Chiefs offense because without Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy, who's probably going to miss this game, they don't have any explosive players in their offense. I mean, Smith-Schuster and Hollywood Brown, they are not enough to be able to create big plays in this Chiefs offense. They're not. Travis Kelce is obviously well past his prime. And I thought last week watching that matchup against the Chargers, I thought Mahomes' magic is what helped the Chiefs be able to accumulate over 300 yards passing and for the Chiefs to score the 21 points that they scored in that game. In that game against the Chargers, the Chiefs had over 300 yards, total yards of offense, and that was Mahomes' magic to me and Andy Reid. But I just don't believe they have the personnel to create explosive plays downfield. And I think it's going to be a rough game for Patrick Mahomes and company. And I'm going to say this right now. It would not shock me by the trading deadline if the Chiefs make a trade for Tyreek Hill. I believe Tyreek Hill needs the Chiefs, and the Chiefs need Tyreek Hill in the worst way. So I believe by midseason, before the trading deadline, Tyreek Hill will be back in a Chiefs uniform. But considering Rashee Rice is going to be out for the first 6 weeks of the season, and Xavier Worthy is dealing with this injury, I don't see a way for them to be able to create explosive plays in the passing game. And this is an interesting stat about the Chiefs. The Chiefs, their running backs, this are the Chiefs running backs in their last 9 games. Chiefs running backs have only had one run over 15 yards. Over one run for over 15 yards in their last 9 games. So they're not creating big plays in the running game. They don't have the personnel to create big plays in the passing game. So I got questions about this Chiefs offense right now. The Eagles, on the other hand, I have no questions about the Eagles offensively. I know they only scored, obviously, 24 points against the Cowboys. And I thought in the second half, the Cowboys defense, they really stepped up. The Eagles against the Cowboys, the Eagles only had 3 points in the second half. But I still believe in the Eagles offensively. With Jalen Hurts at quarterback, with the best running back in pro football with Saquon Barkley. And obviously on the receiver position, we got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And Goddard at tight end with the best offensive line in pro football. But it's going to be interesting to see if the Chiefs defense can get timely stops to be able to slow down this Eagles elite offense. But it's going to be a tremendous matchup Sunday afternoon in Arrowhead in Kansas City. But with that being said, I'm rolling with the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going Eagles 27, Chiefs 21.